When we first started the show, I really thought we were doing a show about building cars and motorcycles for people. It evolved into a show about people and their...
Danny Koker has built an empire with counting cars, but not every ride has been smooth. Some employees didn't just leave. They were shown the door for reasons that shocked even longtime fans.
They are a magnificent shop. They build top-notch stuff, but this was something that was built on their show, and they had fallen victim to those deadlines.
From shady deals to major letdowns, Danny finally breaks his silence on the 5 worst team members to ever walk through his garage doors. Let's dive into it. Early life and influences. Danny Koker was born in Cleveland, Ohio, but spent most of his childhood in Detroit, Michigan, a place known as the heart of the American car industry. Growing up in Detroit meant that cars were part of everyday life. Muscle cars roared down the streets, and car shows happened often. For Danny, this environment wasn't just background noise. It shaped him. His father, Danny Koker Sr., had a big impact on his life. He was a talented musician who toured with famous groups like the Cathedral Quartet. Music filled the house, but so did the sound of engines. His father was also a car lover, and that passion passed down to Danny at an early age. As a teenager, Danny spent most of his free time around cars. He loved getting his hands dirty under the hood. He fixed up old vehicles and brought them back to life. While other kids were focused on video games or sports, Danny was all about classic rides. His love for old-school muscle cars, choppers, and hot rods only grew stronger over the years. Danny's love for cars started young, but it would take years before he found his true calling. Little did he know that his biggest break would come from the most unexpected place. In the early 1990s, Danny moved to Las Vegas. While cars were his passion, he also had a strong interest in entertainment. He became a local TV personality known as Count Cool Rider. The show was a late-night horror movie segment where Danny, dressed like a rock and roll vampire, introduced old horror films to viewers. It was cheesy, over the top, and packed with personality, and it made him a small cult icon in Vegas. But while Count Cool Rider got laughs, Danny never stepped away from cars. He started a custom shop called Count's Kustoms, originally to take care of his personal collection. Over time, people started to notice his one-of-a-kind builds. Danny didn't just restore cars, he transformed them. His style blended respect for the classics with bold, rebellious touches. Flame paint jobs, low-slung stances, and roaring engines became part of his signature. Word spread fast in the Vegas scene. Celebrities, collectors, and car lovers began coming to Count's Kustoms, hoping to get a piece of Danny's magic. He was a true gearhead who never followed trends. He created his own rules, and people respected that. Danny was building his reputation one custom car at a time, but fame was still far away. Everything would change when he got a phone call that would put him on national TV. Danny's big TV break came thanks to another hit show, Pawn Stars. Since Count's Kustoms was located not far from the famous gold and silver pawn shop, Danny began appearing on the show as an expert on cars and amanmiti motorcycles. Anytime the Pawn Stars team needed advice about a vehicle, they called in Danny. His knowledge, charm, and no-nonsense style made him a fan favorite. Producers noticed how much viewers liked Danny, and the idea for a spin-off was born. In 2012, Counting Cars made its debut on the History Channel. The show followed Danny and his team at Count's Kustoms as they restored, customized, and brought old vehicles back to life. From the very first episode, Counting Cars stood out. It didn't rely on fake drama or forced storylines. Danny's love for cars was real, and it showed. Viewers connected with the passion, the creativity, and the personalities in the shop. Danny treated his team like family, and each episode felt like a day hanging out in the garage with close friends. By the third season, Counting Cars had become one of the most popular automotive shows on TV. Millions tuned in to see what Danny and his crew would build next. The cars were always impressive, but the heart of the show was the people, the jokes, the bonds, the tension, and the triumphs. The success of Counting Cars turned Danny into a household name. He wasn't just a car guy anymore. He was a TV star, a businessman, and a symbol of old-school values in a fast-moving world. Still, he never let the fame change him too much. He stayed close to his roots, both in music and in cars. Danny also expanded his brand. He opened Count's Vamped Rock Bar and Grill, a music venue in Las Vegas, where he could blend his two biggest loves, music and motorcycles. He continued building custom cars, touring, and making appearances while running his businesses. Even though the spotlight was now shining brighter, Danny stayed focused on what mattered most, building cool rides and staying true to his vision. He had built a team of mechanics and artists he trusted, and together they made Counting Cars something special. Counting Cars made Danny a star, but success came with a price he never saw coming. Behind the cameras, problems were already starting to build that would test everything he had worked for. Behind-the-scenes reality. Counting Cars looked smooth on TV. The builds seemed quick. The team always had fun, and the cars looked perfect by the end of every episode. But behind the scenes, things were not always that simple. Life inside Count's Kustoms came with a lot of stress, pressure, and problems that fans never got to see. Real car work takes time. It is slow, detailed, and sometimes frustrating. On the show, a full build is shown in one episode. That means only about 30 minutes from start to finish. But in real life, it often takes weeks or even months to build or restore a single car. Parts need to be ordered. Some of them are rare. Others take forever to arrive. The team has to take cars apart, fix what's broken, and sometimes start over if something goes wrong. They also have to paint, polish, test the engine, and make sure everything runs the right way. All that work has to fit into a short episode. The TV crew films for days just to get enough footage. Then editors cut it all down so it fits into one quick story. That means the audience never sees how much effort really goes into each car. Danny Koker is very serious about the quality of every build. He does not let sloppy work slide. If the paint looks off, he sends it back. If the engine sounds strange, it has to be checked again. He wants every car to be perfect, and that adds more pressure to the team. The crew has to meet real deadlines and also keep the show entertaining. That is hard to do at the same time. Some days, the team worked long hours just to keep up. That kind of pace wore people down. The pressure of TV production was tough, but it was nothing compared to what fame would do to his team. Soon, Danny would learn that not everyone could handle being in the spotlight. When the show started, Count's Kustoms was a small shop. The workers were like a close family. They laughed, teased each other, and loved cars. That feeling stayed strong for a while. But once the show took off, everything changed. The shop became famous overnight. Tourists from all over the world started showing up. Fans wanted to see the shop, meet the crew, and take pictures. Some fans waited outside all day. Others knocked on the doors while the team was trying to work. At first, it felt nice to be loved. But over time, it became a problem. The shop was not just a business anymore. It was a tourist stop. The crew could not work in peace. The noise, the photos, and the questions slowed everything down. Fame also changed how some people on the team acted. When TV cameras started rolling, a few workers acted different. Some liked the spotlight too much. Others wanted more credit or more money. Ego became a problem. Tension grew between co-workers who used to be friends. Danny had to deal with all of it. He was the boss, the face of the show, and also a builder with high standards. But now, he also had to manage the pressure of TV production, fame, and growing business needs. It was a lot for one man to carry. As the shop grew more popular, Danny opened other businesses. He launched a rock bar, sold gear with his brand on it, and made public appearances. That added even more to his plate. Legal problems followed too. A few old workers filed lawsuits. Some claimed they were owed money or treated unfairly. These legal fights added stress and took attention away from the shop. Danny also had to make sure new contracts were in place to protect his name and brand. People who once built cars just for fun now had to follow rules, sign papers, and act a certain way on camera. It was hard for everyone. The team was not the same by season 3 or 4. Some faces disappeared, some left quietly. Others were fired after big arguments or drama. The show never showed all of this, but fans noticed changes in the lineup. Danny stayed focused on the cars. He always believed in doing things the right way. But even he had moments where the pressure got to him. He was running a business, leading a team, keeping fans happy, and holding on to the quality that made his shop famous in the first place. Fame changed everything at Kustoms, and not always for the better. Some of the people Danny trusted most would end up betraying him in ways that shocked even longtime fans. Joseph Frontiera. One of the biggest behind-the-scenes shocks in Counting Cars history came from someone most viewers never saw on screen. His name was Joseph Frontiera, and while he was not building or painting cars, he played a very important role at Kustoms. He worked as the company's bookkeeper. That means he handled the money, paying bills, managing payroll, and keeping track of business expenses. At first, everything seemed fine. Joseph was trusted with a lot of responsibility. But over time, strange things started to happen with the shop's finances. When Danny and his team looked deeper, they found something serious. Joseph had stolen money from Kustoms, more than $75,000. The way he did it made things worse. He used company funds to pay for things like a personal down payment on a Range Rover. He also paid for airline tickets and travel for himself. He didn't make a mistake. He knew what he was doing. To pull it off, he even forged Danny Koker's signature. He created fake records to cover up what he took. When Danny and the team found out, they were furious. This was not just a small error or a slip-up. It was a betrayal. The money that could have gone into builds, payroll, or business needs was spent on luxury items for someone who was supposed to protect the shop's finances. In 2016, Kustoms took legal action. They filed a lawsuit not only against Joseph Frontiera, but also against the staffing agency that had placed him there, Randstad USA. The shop claimed the agency failed to properly check his background. It was a messy case that went public, and fans were shocked when the details came out. By the time news broke, Joseph was already gone from the show. In fact, he had disappeared from episodes without any clear explanation. No on-air drama, no goodbye scene. He was just gone. Now viewers knew why. He had left a trail of missing money and trust issues behind him. After the lawsuit, Joseph vanished from the spotlight. He did not speak out publicly, and there were no major updates about him. As far as fans know, he is completely off the grid. No social media, no TV appearances, and no interviews. It's like he disappeared after getting caught. His actions left a lasting impact on the shop. Danny became more careful with who he trusted behind the scenes. The team made sure they had tighter controls on money and paperwork. It was a lesson learned the hard way. Joseph Frontiera may not have turned wrenches or painted hot rods, but his actions caused just as much damage as any busted engine. For fans of counting cars, he stands out as one of the worst employees the show ever had, even if most people never saw him on screen. Joseph's theft was bad enough, but it wasn't the only money problem Danny would face. The next employee on our list would cause even bigger headaches in a completely different way. Scott Jones. Scott Jones was one of the first faces fans saw when counting cars began. He was the shop manager and also helped with the books. He worked behind the scenes to keep things organized, budgets tight, and deadlines moving. While Danny Koker was the creative force and face of the show, Scott was the guy who made sure things stayed on track, at least on paper. From the very first season, viewers noticed that Scott had a strong personality. He was blunt, serious, and didn't hold back. His main job was making sure money wasn't wasted, and that often led to clashes with Danny. Danny had big dreams for the builds, and sometimes wanted to push the limits. Scott was there to keep costs down, remind the crew about the budget, and make sure business came first. This caused a lot of tension, especially on camera. Scott would question prices, push back on wild ideas, and challenge Danny when things seemed to go too far. Some fans found the back and forth funny. Others thought it created a real divide. The two clearly had different styles, and that showed in almost every episode during the first 2 seasons. But then, something strange happened. After season 2, Scott was gone. There was no big scene, no farewell, no explanation. One day, he was in the shop managing builds and crunching numbers, and the next, he had disappeared. Fans were quick to notice and started asking questions. Rumors began to spread online. Some people claimed he was fired for financial mismanagement. Others thought there was a deeper conflict behind the scenes. None of those claims were ever proven, and the show never addressed the exit in any clear way. The truth, according to later reports, is actually much simpler. Scott moved to Tennessee for personal reasons. He wanted to be closer to his family, and the decision was not about drama or money. It was about life changes and priorities. Sometimes stepping away is about more than the job. It's about what matters most off camera. Since then, Scott has kept busy. He now runs his own business called Koker's Extreme Automotive in Tennessee. He even appeared on Netflix's Swap Shop, another show that focuses on cars and collectibles. While he may not be part of counting cars anymore, he is still doing what he loves, working with vehicles and keeping things running smoothly. Scott Jones may not have been a fan favorite, but he played a big role during the early days of the show. He was the tough voice of reason, the guy who said no when everyone else said yes. And while his exit was quiet, his time on the show left a mark. Scott left quietly for family reasons. But not everyone who disappeared from the show had such innocent motives. Our next story involves someone who fans loved dearly until they found out what really happened. Rolly Sabo. Rolly Sabo was one of the most loved faces on Counting Cars from seasons 2 through 6. He worked as the shop's lead detailer, making sure every car that left Count's Kustoms looked its best. But Rolly wasn't known only for his work. He also brought something special to the screen: personality. Rolly had a thick Hungarian accent and a big smile. He was funny, full of energy, and always ready with a one-liner or goofy moment. He brought life to the shop, cracking jokes, dancing around, and keeping the mood light even during long workdays. He balanced hard work with humor, and fans loved him for it. But Rowley was not just there to entertain. He was a true perfectionist when it came to detailing. Whether it was a custom lowrider or a rare classic, he made sure every inch of the car was spotless and shining. His skills matched his personality. The crew respected him, and the fans couldn't get enough. By season 4, Rowley had become a fan favorite. Viewers talked about him on social media, shared his funniest moments, and admired his attention to detail. He was one of those rare cast members who made the show more fun without ever feeling fake. His laughter felt real, and so did his work. Then, something unexpected happened. In 2017, news broke that detailing equipment had gone missing from the shop. It was not just a small tool or two. Thousands of dollars worth of professional gear had vanished. And soon after, Rowley was gone too. He disappeared from the show without warning or explanation. One week he was there, polishing cars and making jokes. The next, he was missing from the crew. No on-screen goodbye. No mention of what happened. Just silence. Later, word spread that the missing equipment may have been tied to Rowley. There were quiet whispers that he took the tools and never returned. Kustoms never made an official public statement. But the timing of his exit and the theft raised questions. For fans, the sudden loss of Rowley was a shock. Many didn't believe he could be involved in something like that. Others were simply sad to see one of their favorite cast members vanish without closure. But Rowley didn't disappear entirely. In the years since his time on the show, he has stayed in Las Vegas and opened his own business, Rock and Rowley Custom Detailing. He continues to work with cars, focusing on the same high-quality detailing he was known for on Counting Cars. His business has a loyal following and keeps him close to the world he knows best. Rowley's missing equipment was just the beginning of Danny's trust issues with his crew, but the next departure would hurt even more because it involved losing one of the shop's most talented builders. Shannon Eichow. Shannon Eichow was never the loudest guy in the room. He didn't crack jokes like Rowley. He didn't argue on camera like some others. But when it came to building custom motorcycles, Shannon stood in a league of his own. He was calm, focused, and insanely talented. Every line he welded and every bike he touched carried his personal stamp of quality. He was one of the true artists in the shop. As the lead motorcycle builder on Counting Cars, Shannon helped shape some of the most iconic builds on the show. His work was clean, bold, and creative. He didn't rush. He didn't cut corners. He built bikes with soul. Machines that looked just as good as they rode. Whether it was a low-slung chopper, a mean street cruiser, or a tribute build with deep meaning, Shannon gave it his all. He came across as the quiet type, but his passion for bikes came through loud and clear. Fans appreciated his steady hands and soft-spoken approach. While others grabbed the spotlight, Shannon was in the background making sure the job got done and done right. From the early seasons of Counting Cars, Shannon was one of the most consistent members of the crew. He was always there, always building, and always turning out top-notch work. His style stood out in a world full of big personalities. He was the kind of craftsman who let the bikes do the talking. But as the show grew bigger, things started to shift. By season 7, fans began to notice Shannon was appearing less and less. His screen time dropped. Some episodes barely showed him at all. And by the next season, he was mostly gone. There was no big fight, no dramatic exit, no scene where Danny said goodbye or hinted at trouble. Shannon just slowly faded out of the spotlight. So what happened? From what's been shared by insiders and longtime viewers, the change came down to creative differences. As counting cars grew more popular, the show leaned harder into storytelling and drama. More arguments, more staged tension, more over-the-top moments. That helped boost ratings, but it didn't sit well with everyone, especially someone like Shannon. He had built his life around real work and true craftsmanship. He wasn't there to play a role. He wanted to build great bikes and stay out of the drama. As the cameras focused more on stories and less on builds, Shannon found himself less interested in being part of the show. His quiet style clashed with the fast-paced, TV-friendly world counting cars was turning into. And instead of complaining or causing a stir, Shannon made a different choice. He stepped away, quietly, just like he had always worked. There was no public statement, no blame, and no hard feelings that were made public. Shannon simply moved on. And he didn't stop building. Far from it. Today, Shannon Aiko is still very much active in the Las Vegas motorcycle scene. He continues to design